there are several NFL teams with insanely crowded receiving rooms. Not just wide receivers, but they also add in tight ends. Today, we break down those 4 teams today in this video, and we talk about out of the team's deep receiving options, which ones have the most upside, which ones are the best value at current ADP. Group number 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who else? You got Baker Mayfield, who just had the best season of his career. He's shown that he can support multiple viable fantasy receiving options. You have Cade Otton, who had a bit of a down year, but Cade Otton still is young. Cade Otton still is promising. Cade Otton is still going to be involved in this receiving game. I think Cade Otton could be an improvement in 2025, even with the addition of multiple receiving options. But really what we're more interested in, because Cade Otton, nobody's really excited about drafting him, is the receiving options. You got Chris Godwin coming back off of injury. You got Mike Evans, kind of was injured last season, banged up, but he had one of the best years of his career. He's been Mr. Consistent. And then you have Emeka Egbuka. They replenish the young talent. You also have Jalen McMillan, who McMillan, people actually think he's a good sleeper option, but he's not. Let me just clear the air. McMillan, wide receiver 4. Yes, he had a lot of touchdowns last year, a lot of usage in the red zone. That's great. Solid rookie year. You're trash, buddy. You're wide receiver 4. Don't draft him. You could potentially draft him for upside with PPR spikes if he's going undrafted, but don't. Mike Evans is currently ADP of 38 in best ball. I like it. I like Mike Evans as a value. Mike Evans is the guy in this offense that I'm not worried about at all. We know Mike Evans will be the alpha. Mike Evans, he averages almost 1 touchdown per game, and he's done that the last 2 seasons of his career with Tampa Bay. He's averaged 17 points per game for the last 2 years of his career with Tampa Bay. He's going to be around the wide receiver 10 this season. I don't worry at all about Mike Evans in this high volume receiving offense. Now, the 2 guys, it's a bit of a toss-up on. You got Godwin and you got Egbuka. Looking at what Godwin did last year, in 7 played games in 2024, he averaged 19.7 points per game. He was the wide receiver 2. Ain't bad. Week 1, 22. Week 2, 25. Week 3, 17. Then he had 2 12-point weeks. Then he had a 35.5 PPR point week. And, I mean, he was just a man on a mission. He had 3 straight weeks with touchdowns. He had a multi-touchdown week. He was averaging like close to 100 receiving yards per game. He had 2 weeks where he was over 100 receiving yards. So if Godwin is healthy, Godwin is also going to be a very high stable piece of this offense, which leaves Emeka Egbuka, right? So you got Godwin going ADP of 61 currently. And you got Egbuka, who's going at ADP of 99 on best ball. I think that all 3 of these guys are actually fairly priced. What I wanted to talk about really with this offense is that Jalen McMillan's a bum. Cade Otton, he's still going to be involved, but he shouldn't be going drafted, until the very late rounds in best ball. Emeka Egbuka, I wanted to mention, he is going to have a good role. The reason I like Egbuka, and I think he's fairly priced inside the top 100 in ADP, he has a good prospect profile. That's the first thing you look at. But the second thing you look at is with Evans and Godwin, yes, they are going to be 1A, 1B. And Egbuka isn't going to be able to he'll be a good wide receiver 3, but in those weeks where Evans and Godwin both play, it's not going to be exciting. Egbuka can find time where he's going to slot into that 1B role. Because between Evans and Godwin, I am confident in betting on the fact that one of those guys will miss time at some point during the year. And in those weeks, Egbuka will spike up, I believe. So I like all 3 of these Buccaneers options. The next offense we head over to is the Packers. Looking at the Packers, you got Tucker Kraft. You got the other Tucker Kraft in Luke Musgrave, who had a down year last year. You got Jaden Reed, Christian Watson out for almost the all season. So it's really Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs. They draft Matthew Golden. You have Dontavian Wicks. I mean, who don't you have? Looking at Jaden Reed, his yards per hour run was at 2.35 last season. Now, the reason Jaden Reed had a down year, where he was wide receiver 41, I really think the reason he had a down year is because of the targets. He wasn't getting as many targets as he did the previous year. In his rookie season, he averaged 6 targets a game, down to 4.4 in 2024. Jaden Reed is actually somebody I think that is getting too much hate. His current price is 85 in best ball. I think Jaden Reed can be a bounce back option in 2025. Trust me. Looking at the underlying stats, almost everything was better, except for the target share numbers, except for the target numbers, and except for the amount of receptions per game, right? Like his yards were slightly better, his touchdowns were about the same. I think Jaden Reed can bounce back. I don't know. I don't want to bet on it happening at the current price of 85 though. Looking at the other options, right? You got Romeo Doubs, you got Matthew Golden. I like Tucker Kraft a lot at his current price. I think Tucker Kraft's going to have a big year. I do not like Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden is ADP 81. Matthew Golden will contribute to this Packers offense, but at ADP of 81, there's other guys I like more in that range, and Matthew Golden's prospect profile is not necessarily the best. It's not as good as Ibuka's. Last name for the Packers is Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs, ADP of 173. He might be my favorite name, guys. He had a 19.7% target share in 2024. He was on the field for 78% of snaps, and he averaged, yes, it was only 10 PPR points per game, but with a 19.7% target share, if he improves his touchdowns in any way, I think Romeo Doubs could have a big year. And at 173, I actually like Romeo Doubs as a selection. Next group of receivers is DJ Moore and the Bears. DJ Moore will be the alpha in this offense. DJ Moore, he was the wide receiver 8 in 2023. He was wide receiver 29 last year, but he did still average 14 PPR points per game. He was on the field for all the snaps. If Caleb Williams takes a step forward, we could see DJ Moore also withhold that role. DJ Moore, he's going to be fine. Now you go to the other options. You got Luther Burden, you got Rome Odunze. I hate Rome Odunze this season. Rome Odunze had a terrible rookie year. Yards per out were 1.3, 8.5 PPR points per game. I don't care that the camp news is that Rome Odunze is going to be insane. The coaching staff showed we don't like Rome Odunze. Bring in Luther Burden. I think Luther Burden has a higher chance of being viable than Rome Odunze. I think he could be the wide receiver 2 immediately. And Luther Burden is at a 26 ADP less price. He's at 99, whereas Odunze is 26 spots higher. So I like Luther Burden. I mean, obviously, you have Loveland. I love Loveland as an ADP. The people that Loveland is going around in his current, spot around like 120, I think. I mean, they're bums. So Loveland is a great pick as well. Last group of guys is the Colts. You got Pittman, who is always banged up. Like, you look at his games played, and his games play, like, he doesn't miss games. He's tough. He plays through the injuries. But I don't want some bum playing on a bum leg going against Jalen Ramsey. I'd rather have somebody with 2 functioning legs. Now, Pittman did still have a 24% target share. Pittman did still have, played most of the snaps. He did average 7 targets a game. It's down year for him. I do think Pittman can still be potentially a league-winning option at ADP of 103 if we have viable quarterback play. But Pittman's already banged up in camp, and I think Josh Downs is going to have a big step up. Looking at Josh Downs, he had a great year. He had a 0.4 touchdowns per game, so almost a touchdown every 2.5 games. Yards per hour was up by a lot to 2.21. PPR points per game was at 13.1. That's encouraging. Target share was 26%, ahead of Pittman. I think Josh Downs is in for a big year, and I also love Tyler Warren at his current price. Let's also not forget Adonai Mitchell, who's going undrafted in best ball drafts. Adonai Mitchell in his rookie year had 36% of the snaps. Adonai Mitchell, he wasn't great. He had a 1.53 yards per out run. He probably shouldn't be going drafted, but if we are going to mention, young wide receivers going into year 2, let's throw Adonai Mitchell on this list, give him some love. That is 4 receiving cores, 4 teams with a lot of guys in those rooms. Hopefully, this video helps break them down and let you guys know who to look for, who to target, and best values. Thanks for watching, boys. Subscribe. Peace.